If you're a woodworker like me, you probably have a mountain of scraps and offcuts. In this video, I'm going to show you a bunch of ways to make awesome small projects for your friends and family and all your loved ones. Let's get stuck into it. A lot of these projects not only make great gifts, but they are also really good sellers. If you're someone that has an Etsy store or a market stall, there's some really great ideas in here for you. We're going to build 6 different projects that range from simple to extremely customized. This is not really a how-to. This is the way I build things, and I really want you to build the things that you want to build, the way that you want to build them. The point is to get you inspired and show you how to use up different types of scraps and offcuts. To get us warmed up, we're going to start with the simplest project first. When it comes to woodworking, it doesn't really get any simpler than slab chopping boards. To make these chopping boards, all I did was took a couple of offcuts from some slabs, I squared them up on the table saw, put a little chamfer on with the router table, screwed some little rubber feet on, give everything a sand and an oil, and they're good to go. Something I've noticed within the world of woodworking and watching a lot of YouTube videos, for a lot of people, woodworking is really intimidating. And the one thing that holds most people back is that there's a lot of pressure to make everything perfect and everything over the top. Woodworking doesn't have to be like that. You can start out simple and build your skills up. I feel like there's so much pressure to be an absolute woodworking gun right out of the gate, and that's just not the reality of it. Most people that are really good woodworkers started out just like you and I, making really simple things, perfecting that, and then moving on to something bigger. And if you are a gun, it never hurts to be reminded of how far you've come. One of my best sellers are these little key holders, and they also happen to be the easiest way to use up all those tiny little offcuts that would usually just go in the burn pile. I think the reason these are so successful is they make awesome little gifts, they're reasonably priced because they're small, they don't take up much room in your house, and they're practical and get used every day. And they're also a really fun project to tackle if you want to start doing inlays. Inlays of this style are actually super simple and they have a really awesome visual impact. All you really have to do is pick 2 contrasting colors of wood, make a couple little rebates with your table saw blade, cut a piece that fits, glue it in, bang it in, sand it, oil it. And I do the exact same thing anytime I'm making my sunglasses holders. And as a bonus, people that quite often lose their keys usually lose their sunnies as well. So these usually sell as a pair. To finish these off, I'm just going to screw on some little brass hooks for the keyring holder, and for the sunglasses holder, I'm just going to drill a couple of holes and thread a piece of this bungee elastic through. You can pick this stuff up from most sewing stores, or a lot of hardware stores have it, and it's a really simple solution. As far as finish goes, I always use this orange oil. It's made locally here in Western Australia, and the smell is just amazing. You use whatever you've got lying around. There's a reason coasters are so popular among woodworkers. They're easy to make and an awesome way to use up awkward sized scraps, and they sell. Everyone makes these differently. This is how I make mine. I construct my coasters in a way that complements the other products that I make. I always try and make things consistent as far as aesthetics go. For example, if I give someone a sunglasses holder for Christmas this year, next year I can give them a set of coasters and it matches. And having a certain style also allows you to use a bit of forethought when it comes to planning how you're going to use your offcuts and your scraps. Rather than just mindlessly putting them in the shelf and thinking I'll use it one day, you can formulate a bit of a plan and understand what you're going to use that piece for down the line. Something else I really love about making coasters and other small projects is it gives me a break in between the big stuff. 2024 has been absolutely enormous for me. I've built my outdoor kitchen, I've built a bunch of other crazy stuff, and I've also revamped my entire workshop. 2025 is gearing up to be huge, so stay tuned for that. But for now, it's just nice to take a bit of pressure off, do something light, something satisfying, and just have a bit of fun and have a bit of a break. I've been saving these pieces for something a little bit more special, and if you look at this grain, you'll understand why. I have a very loyal customer who collects kitchen knives, and he's reached out and he's asked me to build him a magnetic knife block to gift for his mum. And I can't think of anything more special than that, so now is their time to shine. This is the first magnetic knife block I've ever made. I'm going to start by docking a couple of these boards up into equal pieces, squaring them up on the table saw and gluing them together to make some panels. These clamps that I'm using are a kit that you buy and you assemble them yourself using offcuts. When I first put them together, I put them together in completely the wrong way because I'm a typical bloke and threw out the instructions. Instead of squeezing in and squeezing down, I built them in a way that they squeezed in and lifted the panel up and bowed it. Anyway, that was a few projects ago. I've put them back together the right way and they work a treat now. So once I had my panels all clamped and glued and the glue was dry, I went over to my table saw, I cut everything down to size and run everything through the thicknesser. Once I had my panels prepped, I went over to the drill press and I drilled a couple of holes, and this will just create a point for the router bit to stop and to start. Once I had my holes drilled, I went over to the router table and took out the material between the two holes. Now, I wasn't too sure how deep to go, so I just kind of crept up on it, taking a bit out incrementally until I was satisfied. It doesn't matter if the routing's a bit janky here because no one's going to see it. In fact, once I get these magnets in, I'm going to cut this strip and glue it in and it'll just disappear. And once we've got our magnets stuck in place and they're not going to fall out, we can go ahead and glue these two panels together. I should probably mention at this point that this knife block is double-sided, so there's magnets in both of these panels. And once the glue's dry, I'll pop the clamps off and I'll run it through the table saw and create a rebate to do an inlay the exact same way I did the sunglasses holder and the key holder. And while I was cutting rebates, I just cut a little rectangle piece to serve as the base for the knife block and did the exact same thing as I did for the main body of it. And by doing this, you can see how my knife block will tie in to any other project. And to finish it off, I took it over to the router table, I put a little round over on it, give it a sand, and then to attach the base to the main body of the knife block, I'm just going to countersink some little holes with my Forstner bit, put it in clamps, pre-drill some holes, and pop some screws in. And of course, to finish it off, back to me old faithful, orange oil. Does anyone else think this is the most satisfying part of any project? We all have that friend or that family member that collects something. Could be spoons, could be knives, could be Legos. In this case, my mates Rob and Emma collect tobacco pipes. So the final build for this video is going to be a custom pipe rack so they can display their collection. And Rob and Emma, I dedicate this video to you guys. As an intuitive builder, I'm not someone who ever sketches up anything. I find that my best pieces are always the ones that I have complete creative freedom over, and it sort of just evolves bit by bit and comes together on its own. I really enjoy that building style, and it almost leads you on kind of a journey. It helps you to be really connected with the piece, and it's much more of a hands-on approach and a problem-solving approach, which is something I really enjoy. To kick off this project, I knew that I wanted to do some kind of a drawer. So I've just constructed a basic box, and then I'll go ahead and I'll build a small drawer that'll slide inside of that. So you'll notice I've cut some rebates for the drawer bottom to sit in. And when I've cut these a bit thicker than the material I'm using because I'm going to cover it in velvet. You'll also notice that I didn't do miters for this drawer box. I just did really simple butt joinery. I just popped some glue on. I know technically we're not supposed to put end grain to edge grain because the glue doesn't hold that well, but I did run a bead of glue inside this whole rebate, so I think that'll give it enough structure. It's a small drawer and it's not really going to be used that often, so I'm not worried about it. And to finish the drawer, I just milled up another piece of this jarrah and put a round over on it and just glued it to the face. I was going to put a little brass handle or make some kind of little oak knob to pull the drawer out, but I felt like everything I tried just really took away from the piece itself, so I decided to not put a pull on the front of it. The drawer's small enough, and honestly, it doesn't really need it. And now that I've got the main body of this project put together, I'm starting to think about where I want it to go from here. And to assist me, I'm going back like 30 years and I'm using the old CAD system. And if you don't know what that is, it simply stands for Cardboard Aided Design. I am not a techie person. I can barely turn a computer on, and I know that's really weird for someone that has a YouTube channel, but honestly, my wife does all my editing for me, and I'm the brains of the operation. At least that's what I tell myself anyway. And sorry not sorry about the shape of this template, but that's just part of the process of being an intuitive builder. I decided to push ahead with it, and I knew that once I got everything put together, it'd make sense. Once I had my templates traced out onto the wood, I went over to the bandsaw and I cut as close to the line as I possibly could. I'm not being too particular here, I'm just taking off the bulk of the material. I'm going to double side tape both these pieces together, then go over to the belt sander and fine tune everything. This is a really handy tip if you ever need to make two of something that's too small to join your router tables safely. And I'm just going to finish these off with a little bit of a sanding, and I'm going to put a little round over on them. These pieces are going to form kind of an arm that will attach to each side of the box. I haven't really thought much further ahead than that, but I know once I get them attached, the next step will reveal itself. So I've just cut some little oak spaces just to create a bit of distance between the arms and the drawer box itself. I'm just going to temporarily glue them in. The glue will just serve as a way to hold it while I drill it, and then I can put some screws in, and then I can go ahead and hide those screw heads with some dowel plugs later on. And because I've learned to trust myself and my building process, I knew once I had those arms on that the vision would come really clear, and it did. All I did was cut a couple more strips of this jarrah, I offset and I drilled 3 holes for the top shelf, 4 holes for the bottom shelves, and then I went over to the bandsaw and I opened those holes up so they'll become slots. Now, I didn't use any glue to attach these, I just popped 1 screw in each end of each shelf. The reason I did that is I want the shelves to be able to twist a bit if they need some fine adjustment. And another little handy tip for you, I always save the ends of my dowels. If I ever do through dowels and the dowels protrude a bit, those bits you cut off, keep them because they make perfect plugs for hiding screw heads. And from there, it's a little sanding, a little oiling, and we are done. Let's have a look at everything we built. That's it for this video. I hope you're feeling super inspired to get out in that workshop and rummage through those offcuts and make some epic things. If you're hungry for some bigger builds, hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. We've got some pretty epic stuff coming up over the next few months. And as always, legends, thanks for the support, and I'll catch us on the next one. Peace.